What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with an unboxing video. I just received an item that goes really well with my loose graded Transdotion collection. That's right, Bossk, one of my favorite figures. And to celebrate the new one coming in, I thought I would pull out all of my loose graded Bossk figures, both bootleg and licensed. And I'm not going to go through all of them just in the interest of time, but in the back here on the left, we have the semi-articulated Mexican bootleg Bosks. The one on the top is an earlier iteration with the light yellow plastic. It's kind of a patina look to the paint, just given the wear. The bottom two are either late 80s or I would call them really more like early 90s that have the dark yellow plastic. One of them is unpainted, and then one of them has the kind of the dark brown paint. It's the same mold between the 80s and 90s. It's just the type of plastic they use. And then over here, for those of you new to my channel, these are late 1990s, early 2000s Russian bootleg Bosks made by a company called Ortet. These are based on the Power of the Force 2 mold. And the most common one you see is the pink one. That's very readily available. The two at the bottom are fairly rare. The one on the pink, the metallic orange flight suit and the metallic green flight suit. There's only about 3 or 4 known to exist right now. I'm sure there's others out there in Russia somewhere, but in terms of confirmed examples, these are each one of about less than 5. I can tell you that 3 or 4 is probably the right number. But so those are my bootlegs, and then my licensed figures. I've just got the standard glossy and flat paint Hong Kong figures with the olive head. And then the top one is actually an interesting one for those of you who haven't seen it. This is a Spanish PBP Bossk with the fat lips, and you can see how fat his lips are relative to the standard Hong Kong figure. And these were made in a Spanish factory called PBP. And it's a kind of an interesting character. It looks like Kermit the Frog had a makeout session with Miss Piggy, so he's got some lipstick all over his face. So this is the PBP figure. And while we're on the subject of the fat lips, I'll go ahead and pull out the Javier Ruy Lopez book called Star Wars PBP Poch Made in Spain Comprehensive Catalog. And he's got a 3rd edition coming out here soon, so be sure to look him up on Facebook. But this is the fat lips right here, so you can see how that figure looks, and that's what they actually call it right here, scar, no COO, fat lips. So he's got a scar on the back of the leg where it used to be a Hong Kong, so it's just kind of scarred out. So that's that one. But the more desirable one, and certainly what's considered a holy grail among Spanish collectors, is this one. This is what's known as the toxic limbs. Among collectors, they call it the toxic limbs because it's got a very, very bright green color palette relative to the standard kind of brownish green that you see on most of these figures. Javier calls it the pistachio limbs, but it's a very, very bright green color, as you can see there. And I don't know how many of these are in existence. If I had to guess based on discussions with folks, there's less than 25 of these known to exist. So it's truly a holy grail among Spanish collectors, just because there's not many of them out there, and they're very, very desirable. So that's the Spanish Poch. And so this is the earlier iteration that has a Hong Kong date stamp, as you can see right here. So they used Hong Kong parts, and they assembled and painted them in Spain in the Poch factory. And that's why he's got such a strange color palette. He also, his limbs are a very kind of banana milkshake color versus the darker yellow that you see on the other licensed figures, later licensed figures. So anyway, so that's the toxic limbs, and I think it's time to go ahead and introduce the newest member to the Bossk family, and that is indeed the toxic limbs Bossk. So this is one of the figures that I never thought that I would personally own. It's truly, for me anyway, a holy grail, and for many Spanish collectors, I think they would agree with me on that. So you can see how bright that green is relative to even the Spanish PBP figure or a Hong Kong figure. So it's a very, very bright paint scheme. And before I move any further with this figure, I have to say thank you to the seller, Matt. I'll leave his last name off just for privacy reasons, but Matt and I go back a long way. We are good friends. We've known each other for a number of years now, and we've always talked about life beyond just collecting. And I consider Matt to be an extremely great friend, and you know, he didn't have to sell this to me, and I know that he could have probably gotten more money for this on the open market than what he sold it to me for. And I cannot thank him enough for selling me the figure that for me was kind of the holy grail item for me that I never thought I'd own. So, but this is the Toxic Limbs Poch Bossk, and this one is graded by AFA. Matt sent this one in to be graded by AFA. We'll get a close up here, and we're going to come back to some of these notable wear around the toes and the hand here in a second. But this is, you can see it's got the kind of the lighter yellow limbs, which is in the book, and kind of a lighter yellow. And here's the label on it. This is a light green skin with the archival case. It's got the Hong Kong date stamp, so they label it as Hong Kong. It is only a 60. But now they label it, AFA for some stupid reason labels this as Kenner/PBP, when this figure has nothing to do with Kenner other than the parts made. But it has nothing to do with PBP, because this was made prior to Poch's acquisition of PBP. So really, I think if you're going to have Kenner on that label, it should say Kenner/Poch, P-O-C-H, instead of PBP, since these are using, I could understand them including Kenner since it does use Hong Kong parts. But, you know, it's a very, very nice example, but it is only graded 60. And, but, you know, beggars cannot be choosers when something this rare comes up for sale. And so I wanted to put this here. And let's go back to the book for a second, because I think you'll find something really cool here. Now, I want to emphasize that this photo has been touched up just for presentation purposes. But you'll notice that, especially around down here, it's got a little bit of wear. Now, again, this has been photoshopped a little bit just to clean up the photo a little bit. But you'll notice the wear there. And if we pull this little guy back, you'll notice that this wear is awfully similar, even accounting for the Photoshop touch-ups. And that is because this is actually the figure in the book. So this is the photo sample used by Javier for the making of this book. And the CIB Collectors Investment Brokerage, Collectible Investment Brokerage, which is affiliated with AFA, they did include a certificate of authenticity. So this was graded September 19th of last year, so about a year ago. It's got the light green skin, and then you'll notice that Tom Derby, who's the main principal at AFA, he did note under the additional notes that this example was featured in Star Wars PBP/Poch Comprehensive Catalog by Javier Ruy Lopez. So this is a really amazing piece of collecting history, because this book by Javier, which is, you know, he's getting ready to release volume 3 now. But this is basically the Bible as it relates to PBP and Poch figures. And to have a figure that was featured in the book was an incredible honor. And you know, like I said, you can see how much brighter the color is, even in the, you know, in real life versus in the book. So the lighting, I think, in the book doesn't even do it justice as to how bright that green is. So, but it is this exact same figure. It's just got some Photoshop going on. And so it was just an incredible pickup. It's not like me to get something this magnificent, you know, or you know, a pretty sizable purchase for me. But when this came up for sale at a price that Matt was very generous with, I couldn't say no, because if it wasn't going to happen now, it was never going to happen. I mean, these just come up so irregularly, and to be able to have this piece of collecting history to be part of my collection, and for a figure that I love anyway. I mean, you know, you guys know I love Bossk, and this is truly the holy grail as it relates to any kind of Bossk figure. I mean, it's just truly one of the magnificent pieces in my collection. It's probably, other than some figures that my son gave me that I consider, you know, more sentimental value, but in terms of, you know, true collections that that I've added to my collection, that graded and so forth, this is certainly the prize of my collection now. But just an incredible item. I'm going to do one quick kind of turn around here so you guys can get a good look at them. But I thank you again, Matt. It's a real pleasure being your friend, and over the years. We've just had so much fun talking over Facebook and elsewhere, so I can't thank you enough for that. But that's all I really had. I'm going to include some slideshow photos at the end of this so you can get a better look if you wish, and that's all I really had. I'd love to hear your comments about this amazing figure below. Be sure to give it a like and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Thanks so much. I'll be back soon.